to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, Paige. Good.
Hi, Tom.
How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal Edge. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 3-4 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico DeHaan and Paige Clark.
Good morning, I'm Nico DeHaan. Welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore a return to a more balanced, natural, wild world.
So we can recover our natural health, our rights, and our freedoms. And I'm Paige Clark. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day in downtown Clearwater, 70 degrees, low humidity. Boy, it was nice out there
Feels like
this
California
morning.
out here.
It is, yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah, so we're taking your questions, and you can contact me if you have any ideas for the show at Paige@TFNN.com.
And Nico at TFNN.com, and we're taking your phone calls at 877-927-6648. So this weekend was the Thunderbolts Project annual meeting, where they have lots of speakers and things, and the focus is, I think, on simplistic elegance this time. They have a lot of speakers there. Ben Davidson, of course, one of the great speakers. It's amazing to me that we have all these scientists up there that can't really talk really well. Some of these things are just hard to get through. Some guys are really old and can hardly get the words out, and some of them are just scientific and just don't know how to talk. But the information is really good. And,
For those of you who aren't aware, the Thunderbolts Project, the Electric Universe, is a lot of, I guess it's a collaborative effort to really explain how our universe works. And kind of, in light of maybe some of what we're taught is not exactly how it works.
Yeah, because the conventional theory of astronomy is that the sun is a nuclear furnace and it's constantly going off, whereas the electric universe says, no, it's a diode in space, and it's simply getting energy from space, which the scientific community comes up with all these theories of dark matter that you can't see and dark energy, and we in the electric universe believe that it's all electric. And all gravity is, an electric phenomenon also. But the speakers are very interesting, a lot of great topics, but they also go into many subjects that cross over into our realm as far as health and wellness.
As above, so below.
Exactly.
And we, the macrocosm in space, we are the microcosm.
So my Health Signals newsletter is out, the new one today, coming out, and has 3 or 4 articles in it about electric universe. First one being blue light exposure may be a countermeasure for fatigue, particularly during the night. And of course, we often talk about that. We want to make everything nice and dark.
Well, and the blue lights tend to interfere with sleeping, so that's exactly what they're saying there, that it would actually be a countermeasure. You want to slow down at night to fall asleep, but if you have blue light exposure, this may be interfering with your sleep and your repair time.
Yeah, it says a new study found that the blue wavelength light exposure led to subsequent increases in brain activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex.
The prefrontal cortex, right, which is the front.
Right, where the participants were engaged in a cognitive task after cessation of the light exposure. This is a real nice experiment. What previous studies never did is they never looked at it, what happened to you afterwards, after the light goes out. Previous studies only focused on the effects of light during the time of exposure. Our study adds this research by showing the beneficial effects of blue wavelength light may outlast the exposure period by over 40 minutes.
And I think what was really significant was this showed activation of the prefrontal cortex, and this is our very creative part of our brain, our thinking, and perhaps sort of our connection. You know, a lot of this is going in the area with the pituitary and the pineal gland and this zone. Well, think about the color too, the color blue, and from a chakra standpoint, we've got the heart is the green color, and the throat is the blue, and it slowly becomes more of an indigo or violet as we go up. So I think that there's some evidence that the chakra system gives us an idea of what colors can actually stimulate different organ gland systems.
Sure, because I'm doing the saunas in the early morning or even in the evening, and that light is a very relaxing light, and it pulls toxins out of your body.
And that's your red light.
That's the red light.
Your red light is really lowers inflammation and all over the body, really.
Right.
But isn't that interesting to realize that how these lights might you might use these certain lights in certain parts of your body?
Yeah, then if you have a clock at night that's blue light, you'd probably want to change that out to a clock maybe with a red light. Some of the clocks change.
Yeah.
Some of them. So.
Best thing to do is throw a blanket over your clock.
Yeah.
Try not to have a lot of light when you are sleeping. It's my personal opinion.
Yeah,
I think
it works for me
important.
for sure, too. The next article that was in there was really about electrical currents that could jumpstart wound healing. And of course, my therapist uses the laser and different lights and different electricity for wound healing, but this is specifically to the light. What do you think about this?
Well, I think this is fantastic because I believe that, the laser is a form of light. Laser is coherent light, whereas LED light is diffuse light. So really, when a laser hits water, and what are we, folks? We are a bag of water.
You're right.
So the laser actually becomes diffuse, and I'm very interested in laser LED light therapy being used for healing, and has been done for eons, actually. And I mentioned to you Professor Charles McWilliams is going to be doing a lecture. He's probably one of the foremost researchers on using light and sound and frequency and color and gemstone energy and everything in healing. And, electric healing goes back to the turn of the century. It's almost like the people that were actually creating great results in medicine were stopped. I wonder why. Well, then we had the pharmaceutical industry come in and offer a chemical approach that was very profitable, but never worked as good as some of this type of healing did.
No, but along with the propaganda that they use, that really kind of overcomes that. And when you're not talking about the healing that we were anymore with the electricity, then of course we had a lot of negative stuff because they were using this in mental health, the shock treatments and stuff like that. So everybody goes, electricity, ooh, let's not go there.
So we are electrical beings, and we go back to stories that Hippocrates would have people go to the seashore and literally have one foot in the sand with the water, the piezoelectric connection to the earth with the water, and then put one foot on an eel.
Right.
There's the beginning of electrical therapy. And
so we can even use the creatures of the ocean to help us heal. And of course, we know that pets, naturally, so maybe dolphins, things like this, could come into... and always a great experience when you see a dolphin in the water. Imagine being in the water with a dolphin or a whale and things like that. And not the shark, of course.
Well, let me read a little bit from this. Electrical currents could jumpstart wound healing. This we know. Those in alternative medicine know this quite a bit. A report published in the Journal of Leukocyte Biology posits that small electrical currents could activate certain immune cells to jumpstart or speed wound healing. And... it's fascinating to think what we could be doing if we would actually bring this back into mainstream. And
I think many people are starting to use stuff like
I think you're going to see more and more as people start to want to do things that are non-invasive and work with our bodies instead of against them. We had to take a short break.
Yeah, and this is one more reason to pick up my Health Signals newsletter, which the new one is out right now. Pick up our Primal Edge, please, and our phone number here is 877-927-6648.
And welcome back to Living a Primal Lifestyle. We're talking about the power to heal, and the power to heal is electric and magnetic. But today we're talking a little bit about electric. And we were discussing how electrical currents could jumpstart wound healing, and many of us have known that for a long time. And in some instances, such as in diabetes, the body's ability to heal is compromised, Nico, and wounds can become infected. As you know, this is really powerful.
I've got the video up here to show the...
Yeah, let me tell you what this is. This is a video from the Institute of Microcirculation that shows a technology. That's normal capillary blood flow. As you can see, some of the red blood cells moving over there to the left are moving kind of slow. And after a certain therapy that's increases this movement of the red blood cells in the capillary flow, we can see that this technology is being used worldwide by medical professionals, hospitals in Europe, over 1 million people, and athletes, premier athletes use this technology. Look here. Check out this stronger vasomotion, faster blood flow. Check this out. See the white blood cells all the way to the right? This is empowered blood flow, which we all should enjoy. And by the way, this was a 20-year-old. And now you're going to see here in just a minute, wouldn't we all like to have blood flow like that? Almost every disease condition is related to blood flow. And what we're suggesting is this is an pulse electromagnetic frequency carrier wave that's increasing microcirculation through tiny, low microvolt, tiny electrical stimulation. And whereas a cell phone is like 600 hertz, that stimulation is like 5 to 35. So it's very safe, but that's pretty powerful.
Very powerful.
Advanced organizations are looking at how we can use electrical stimulation to help our bodies heal and perform better, and maybe perform the way we should be performing. Many of our electrical issues in our body are a result of electrical pollution or the bad electricity, which is putting the wrong spin.
Right. So there's another article here, individual exposed to blue wavelengths experience faster reaction time. So that's kind of a follow-up of the other one. And then the last one here that I put in the newsletter I thought was really interesting, that the electrical fields are weaker and slow healing in the diabetic wounds. In other words, people with diabetes, or if you're going towards that diabetes, the system is kind of broken. We've always talked about the glycation of the proteins and the sugar binding together, creating wrinkles inside your body, which slows the electrical flow.
And that's so true. And you know, with my dad this last year, that's one of the issues that we had this this fall was in trying to get my father's wounds on his feet to heal.
Yes.
And dealing with the hospitals and so forth and their approach, and how we can see when little devices like the dolphin that we share.
The dolphin, the beamer, there's all kinds of
the dolphin.
things.
Yeah, these technologies that get a direct current. The human body is not AC current like what we have in our homes. It's a direct current. And this is a perfect example why I was telling you TENS units.
Yes.
In general.
They're
AC. Yeah. So they really will. They're like pharmaceutical drugs. They mask a symptom. They mask the symptom of pain, but they don't get it better. Direct current actually gets to the innate intelligence of the body and helps the body heal.
In fact, Ben Davidson was talking about the difference between electric current and alternating current, and how the electric in space is the direct current. Fascinating stuff for sure.
Which is the electricity body. But getting back to that video we just showed you that did highlight the beamer technology, there's a doctor in town that has one that showed me videos of a person with a diabetic ulcer on their foot, and it was this big. It was really rather distressing to look at.
Yeah.
In 3 weeks, it was down to the size of an eraser pen. So, folks, there's a lot of stuff out there that can help us heal and live a more vibrant life by helping our body do what it was designed to do. And I believe that electrical fields and wound healing is something that we're going to see more and more as people start to embrace ways that do not interfere and cause harm, like so many drugs and so forth do.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. This is important stuff. I invite everybody to go over to the Electric Universe, which is the thunderboltsproject.org, and there you can you have to buy the whole set. I think it was $99 to pre-buy it, but then it was
to listen to the lectures.
To listen to the lectures, $150 for the whole thing. Very well worth it. Some of the speakers, like I said, aren't the greatest, but I'm about halfway through it. And even though some of the speakers are not that great, a lot of
the information's great. You're saying they just don't deliver it in a
some of them don't, but some of them are just fascinating, have great stories to tell. Of course, guys like Ben Davidson, who are articulate and smart to begin with, that helps a lot. But a lot of great stories in there. Like I said, I'm about halfway through, so I've got another probably a day and a half of watching, hours and hours of stuff. So, I think it's important stuff to learn. They're even really talking about the geology now, that the geology is so different than we thought. We thought the Earth was made in over millions and millions of years, and that really nothing really happens that we can see. But I think we're finding out now through the Electric Universe that it's possible that a lot has happened, and our ancestors did see these things, and that's why they wrote them on the cave walls and had all these drawings that we don't understand, because they were seeing different things than we were seeing. However, we may be seeing them again if the grand minimum, if the theory about the grand minimum is right.
We may be having those we may be documenting those same shapes that
Yeah,
we
who
saw
knows,
on
you
our
know?
buildings.
I find it really fascinating.
And hundreds of years from now, people will be saying, what were they thinking, or what were they seeing?
Maybe we'll be back on the cave walls. Who knows?
Well, that's interesting. So we were talking about the electric universe and the fact that we are, in fact, electrical beings, and this is not, it's kind of the principle of hormesis. Something in small doses is good for you, where in a high dose it would not be, obviously, with electricity.
Right.
I found an article in here, and it's the same. It made me think about electricity. If you don't mind me clicking on it real quick, I just want to touch on how we have to look at the half-truths. And it's the high-fat diet and pregnancy can affect 3 future generations. And my first thought was, great, they're going to talk about how important fat is for the diet.
It's actually, they mask these things, don't they?
Yeah, they get half of it right and half of it wrong. And the truth is, good, healthy fats are very important for building healthy cell membranes, and the cell membrane is how we create our electrical potential. They call it zeta potential, the way we repel our red blood cells so we don't get our blood's getting sticky and cloggy. It's like good electrical potential of the right current running through. So actually, in pregnancy, we want to encourage good healthy fats so we can make good membranes.
Yep.
But this article talks about...
Let me first talk about the actual headline. High fat in pregnancy can affect 3 future generations. So we think we're going to be talking about how fat, but then if you're talking about the first sentence, the effects of offspring of eating a high-fat, high-sugar diet in pregnancy.
That's the word they stuck in, and again...
That's the real
the real issue. We could almost just highlight out the high fat, the effects. If they had just studied people with a high fat diet, I think they would not have seen detrimental effects.
Right.
It's the combination
of the high fat and the high sugar, because that's the bad combination, because as we know, our body is going to secrete insulin because of the high sugar, and then the fat, the sugar, and the insulin all go together into the fat cell. So you got a three segmented fat there.
And as that little girl sitting there eating some donuts, maybe that's a perfect example, a sugary, trans fat type of thing.
Donuts are the perfect bad food.
The perfect bad food?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, we got to take another break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, folks. The number here is 877-927-6648. The effects of offspring on the offspring of eating a high-fat and high-sugar diet in pregnancy has been well documented, causing risks of stillbirths, lots of different anomalies, I should say, obesity, heart disease, all kinds of different things. But
they talk about it for at least 3 subsequent generations and might be affected. And you and I were discussing during the break. Again, doctors at the turn of the century knew this. Pottinger's cat studies showed that it only took a few generations for the degradation in the gene pool to happen as a result of eating nutrient enzyme devoid food.
I think it only takes one generation. The one bad generation affects the next 2 or 3 or 4.
Well, I think that when you look at people walking in a store, like families, there's just a different shape to the human body today.
Well, yeah.
Very few people look what I would call the ideal gene expression of the human being anymore.
Yeah, for sure. We have the mole gene, I think.
And one of the statistics here says that this is a scary statistic. 2/3 of American young women who are pregnant are either obese or overweight, right at the time of their pregnancy. I think that's a scary, staggering statistic.
Our society slowly has been getting larger, and also, of course, if you're pregnant, you expect to gain weight. So that expectation, along with the SAD diet, the standard American diet, will probably put on weight, even if you're not pregnant. So if you're pregnant, then you're really causing lots of problems in your body, but you're really causing lots of problems for your offspring, so that in the next 2 or 3 generations.
It's not important for these pregnant women to get tons of food, like this young lady that's eating a box of donuts. It's important that you get nutrient-dense food.
Yeah.
And I think there's some kind of look at the father in the back picture. He looks all happy that she's got her donuts, and this is not a good thing.
Well, first of all, a donut is dough, which is all grain, and then it's
paper mache.
fried.
Right, Mr. Shortcut?
Probably fried in bad oil.
Right, trans
probably
fats.
trans fat. And then, of course, you're adding the sugar on top of it. So, I mean,
And all the chemicals that
and
are...
all the chemicals, yeah, probably not completely sugar. You might have the diet donut. I don't know if they have those or not. But
Yeah, the findings indicate that a mother's obesity can impair the health for so many generations, and I think we need to really think about what we're doing as we're continuing to eat these frankenfoods that we see every day. What's happening to our genes when they respond to this. And the research has noted that although previous studies have linked a woman's pregnancy health to her child's weight in later life, their study is the first to show that pre-pregnancy obesity can result in genetic anomalies, expression, that are passed through the female bloodline to 3 future generations, increasing risk for type 2 diabetes and heart disease.
yeah. So that means that if your parents were heavy, overeating, not having a good diet, then your road to health has just been complicated quite a bit. And so you're going to have to take extra measures of detoxing, of making sure that you're on the right diet and not follow the path of your parents.
Exactly.
A real important thing. I do notice children these days are much more aware of their diet. I know that my clients' children seem to be more up to speed. Perhaps my clients are talking to them more. But also I think maybe the education system is getting in there. They're getting more information about food, maybe through our education system, and I'm not really sure about that, but I'm thinking that maybe help. But there is the other side of the coin, too, here in this new...
While you're looking for that, let me just say this one point. This is interesting. To conduct the study, these researchers fed the mice a high-fat, high-sugar diet that consisted of 60% fat and 20% sugar, which mimicked a Western diet. Basically, it's like eating fast food every day. And the results showed that even though the offspring were fed a healthy diet, the offspring of the mice were then fed a controlled diet of standard rodent chow that is low in fat and sugar and high in protein. The results showed that even though the offspring were fed a healthy diet, the pups, grandpups, and great-grandpups of the mothers developed insulin resistance and other metabolic problems. So again, the coding that happens in the mother's egg, that's amazing. So we've really got to start thinking about what we're feeding our children and make the right choices.
Yeah, so on the telestrator now is the FDA approves this bulimia device as a treatment of obesity.
From Diet Doctor, folks, the truth is stranger than fiction. Don't you agree?
So we know what bulimia is. This is where you've eaten and now all of a sudden the shock comes that you've eaten too much and you need to throw up, right?
It's
so
a very
now we
sad
have
disease.
a device that I guess taps right into your stomach here, as the picture on the telestrator says. There's a little port there, and now instead of the food going back through your throat, which causes the throat cancers and all problems with your teeth, now you can just put a little tube in there and put it into the bathroom, and
this
is pretty sickening.
It's called, the bulimia device is called the Aspire Assist, and it allows you to lose weight like a bulimic without having to throw up. It actually accomplishes this by adding a new esophagus to your body, a new hole in your stomach leading to a tube. So you make a visit to your obesity doctor, and he creates a port in your belly, and there you go. You can just go have those donuts, that box of donuts, and then just purge it right out. Is that crazy? That still doesn't take away
the problem itself.
That doesn't take away the problem of the body's, feedback loop of satiation and hunger.
Something wrong in the feedback loop.
It's a very, very sad disease, as you know. We have a family member that really struggled with that, and we lost her at 19. So yeah.
I've known people who have had this problem too. One thing I did notice with people that have this problem, their diet is not good in the first place.
Oh, people that have this?
The people that have this are mostly on a high-carb diet.
Right.
So their weight goes up and down. Of course, they feel full right away. They're not very conscious of their health, of course, because of the sickness. But it is a sickness. It needs to be treated as a sickness. So I encourage people to watch out for this and then help the people that are involved.
Yeah, so, in case you're wondering, guys, this is not a joke. And the doctors are actually, the FDA has approved this, folks. And then we've got the FDA chasing down cherry producers and walnut producers for making health claims, but they'll approve the Aspire Assist. I mean, it is insane. It is absolutely crazy. It says, in case you're obviously recommending things like a low-carb diet or intermittent fasting would be way too extreme, right? You kind of help with your, these kind of tools that could help someone get control of their cravings and adjust their lifestyle. We talk about a lot of the top strategies I see from the newsletter. We've got our top 5 strategies, and intermittent fasting and these kind of strategies can be helpful, but instead we have to create something as crazy as this.
Yeah, it is nuts. So please pick up our Health Signals newsletter, folks. And, we've done a lot of work in bringing you the Primal Edge, our one-shot wonder. This is something that will really help bring your health to a new standard, because if you're already eating a good diet, you may still not be getting the minerals from the soil. And our Primal Edge has all those minerals in there, so your body can make all the vitamins and all these good things to start your day off right.
And we've enhanced the Primal Edge with some of those key nutrients that some people can't, based on our poor gene expression that we've created. We've got the fully reduced forms of B vitamins, such as, the methylated forms of the Bs, and the folate, not the folic acid. So these are important things. We make a difference in what we make because we want it to make a difference in your life.
That's for sure. Number here is 877-927-6648. So please pick up the Primal Edge, pick up my new newsletter, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Welcome back to Living a Primal Lifestyle. We're talking about essential minerals, and could copper, the essential mineral copper, be essential in burning fat? Well, 2 Berkeley graduate students are carrying out experiments to find proteins that bind to copper and potentially influence the storage and burning of fat.
Pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. A new study is further burnishing copper's reputation as an essential nutrient for human psychology. Of course, you were adamant about the right kind of copper that we put in the Primal Edge.
Yeah, and like I said, they found that copper plays a key role in the metabolizing of fat, and there's some great research on the benefits of copper, and like so many trace minerals that have disappeared from our soil, it's showing a dire effect in our health. Copper is abundant in young people who have tight skin, beautiful skin, respond and recover and repair and heal well, and we're not so much as we get older. So I do believe that it's starting to get a little bit of attention, that perhaps we want to make sure we're getting it in our foods. Your dark green leafy vegetables are great sources for copper.
Is this why Copper Tone suntan lotion may have?
I don't know. I think they just chose Copper Tone because
of the color.
The color copper is a desirable skin color.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, remind me to tell you, I've made up my own homemade sunscreen. I'll share it with people. It's just something you can try at home, but that reminded me about that. But so let's talk about it. Copper's always been, prized as a malleable conductive metal, and they use it in cookware, electronics, and jewelry, and so forth.
Well, we're also using it now. We see in the clothing, the compression clothing, for your knees and your elbows, for your joints.
It's healing. It's important for healing. It's important for making red blood cells, absorbing iron, and developing connective tissue. Ladies, think skin. You go to some of the expensive cosmetic lines, and you can spend quite a bit of money on copper peptides. I actually have spoken at length with the scientist, Skin Biology, who actually is the patenter of the copper peptides. He's a very interesting person. But the new findings that are going to appear in the July print of Natural Chemist Biology, but published online today, which was June 6th, establishes for the first time copper's role in fat metabolism. So I guess what we would say is if you are having problems with obesity, then you're going to be deficient in copper. And probably someone who's obese is eating the box of donuts like we saw earlier and not eating the kale and spinach.
We find that copper is essential for breaking down fat cells so that they can be used for energy. It acts as a regulator. The more copper there is, the more fat is broken down. We think it would be worthwhile to study whether a deficiency in this nutrient could be linked to obesity or obesity-related diseases.
And I think that that's going to be found to be very beneficial. Again, I already knew about this perhaps deficiency in copper. Now, it's very important that copper and say iron are in balance with, or zinc are in balance with each other, and these elements need to be in balance. But I really felt that we wanted to just add a little more of a bioavailable copper to the Primal Edge, so you can know that it's in there.
Of course, being raised up in Sudbury, Ontario, where it's the copper capital of the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where they mine copper and nickel. And that's where my dad worked in the mines 8,000 feet below the ground.
Well, think about the healing bracelets that the American Indians have known.
Well, my grandfather used to wear a little copper bracelet because of his
it's extremely healing, and it. In addition to burning fat, it's not something that the body makes. So we need to get it through our diet. And the typical American diet, however, doesn't include many, leafy green vegetables. The Asian diet has more. But
and we don't have the soil anymore. We don't play in the soil anymore. We don't play outside as much anymore. So naturally, the copper I was getting when I was 10 years old, probably not getting it now.
Oysters and shellfish are a great place to get bioavailable copper, and you're going to get it in a nice balance with the zinc, because we know that shellfish is. So your shellfish is a great place. Let's talk about whether or not they're bottom feeders. There's some, people that believe that's an unclean food, but there's other people that believe we can get good sources of those.
The liver is the cleaning agent for us, and the liver is so good for us, so it makes sense that the animals on the bottom of the sea, mostly the crabs that we really like.
The filters.
The filters, yeah. So
and we know that eating the liver, like you just said, see, I love the way you kind of pull things and you use like what I just call good common sense. Good intuition.
Well, it makes sense because we like grouper because they eat these stone crabs, and we like flounder and the halibut because they eat the snow crabs and the king crabs. So, these things are getting it from each other, and they're the filters, and the filters are the things that we want to eat, I think.
Yeah, and here the researchers cautioned against taking copper supplements as a result of these studies. Too much copper can lead to an imbalance with other essential nutrients such as zinc. That is true, but scientists now know when you're using a bioavailable chelated form like we have, and also to make sure they're in ratio and that you have the zinc there too.
Yeah, and it also says of the copper in human bodies that there are particular high concentrations found in the brain. So here's the link to the brain again.
And youth. And recovery and resilience. So copper is a part of being
what's
resilient.
What's going to make this all work is naturally the natural fats and the natural proteins that are in the brain, but not the sugars so much. The sugars are, downgraded. We use the sugars because our body can make the sugars that they need out of the fats and the proteins too.
This is interesting. Hints from cows and copper. The connection between copper and fat metabolism is not altogether surprising. The researchers actually found hints of the link in the field of animal husbandry. It has been noted in cattle that levels of copper in the feed would affect how fatty the meat was. Said Chang, the effect on fat deposits in animals was in the agricultural literature, but it hadn't been clear what the biochemical mechanisms were that were linking copper and fat. I think of Dr. Joel Wallach, dead doctors don't lie. He's a veterinarian who turned natural health practitioner, and he always said, if you really want to get well, just study veterinary medicine because they had to use nutrition to get animals well. Maybe we should all go get a veterinarian as our primary care.
We'd probably
be better off.
Yeah, in a sense. I think any doctor, like I have a fantastic friend of mine that's a doctor of dermatology, but he's also a practicing, normal doctor. What do you call it?
Pediatrician? Well, pediatricians
not
for children.
But
family practice doctor.
Family practice doctor. So I go to him,
So he's a veterinarian?
No, he's a dermatologist. But he studied general medicine first and was real interested in veterinarian. So that's just
I actually think if you were going to be a doctor or a dermatologist, is probably the best thing to be. I mean, they just.
Well, he also turned towards the paleo more, saying that diet really has a lot to do with your skin.
Didn't you go in? And wasn't he the one that started seeing like changes in yours and Ellen's skin?
Mostly Ellen's, because Ellen had all the cancer problems, skin cancer problems.
And now that she's lowered the sugars?
8 years into it, there's no more incidents. So no more instances. And where every 3 months she was getting something cut.
And no more abuse of the sugars. But hey, I'm going to tell you one thing. She may have given up the sugars anyway, but she has the best recipe of paleo brownies I've ever had.
That she does. She's not giving it up either.
And I keep looking forward to a party at your house because, they're almond flour and they're chewy and they're gooey, and Ellen, I want some.
That's always fun, sure. We got another segment coming up. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll find something. But this copper thing is really interesting, and it just shows us how much that the soil is depleted, that we don't get these nutrients anymore. We don't get the iron anymore. We don't get the copper or the zinc or anything from the soil anymore. So,
well, I like to remind people, it's the minerals and the enzymes in our body. If we can just restore get enzymes, and we can get the minerals from the soil, then our body is an alchemical genius, and it knows how to make the essential vitamins and most of those vitamins. So, let's get the raw materials and make it all work.
That's right. Pick up a new Primal Edge and pick up the new newsletter too, please. And Paige and I will be right back for our last segment. Welcome back, folks. If you consume an excess amount of the PUFAs, the polyunsaturated fatty acids known as vegetable oils, they're found in processed foods also. You'll notice that there's an early onset of wrinkles and even skin hyperpigmentation.
Mm-hmm. But if you get rid of those and you increase your intake of lycopene-rich tomatoes and foods like watermelon and red peppers, remember the pigments, hear what I'm saying here, red pigments, the berries, and your dark leafy greens, just to name a food, you'll notice that you can stay out in the sun quite a bit longer than before.
Pretty cool.
And all of those foods help to build an internal SPF that reduces sun damage to the skin, that creates a beautiful glowing complexion. And we mentioned the red pigments, and one of those great red pigments that's very protective is astaxanthin. And astaxanthin is the pigment that turns your wild salmon pink, your lobsters red, your shrimp pink. Astaxanthin is a fat-soluble nutrient that has great benefits internally as a sunscreen. So if you take that as a fat-soluble nutrient, you can actually, handle the sun a little longer before you burn, because we need the sun. We just don't need to burn our skin.
So it's a good example of that. Good fats are really good for you. Things like saturated fat, the real good PUFAs from the fish, but not the PUFAs so much from the vegetable oils and from plants. So if we're talking about the animal fats, much better for our skin. If we're talking about the vegetable fats, hard to digest, hard to break down, hard to convert into the right type of fat.
And here are two quotes before we go on a little bit more. It says, "Upon the altar of sunshine, what we ingest determines how our skin responds to sunlight." Or we could flip it around and say, "Upon the altar of good skin health, what we ingest determines how our skin responds to our internal and external environment." And we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of, we talked about how copper is a mineral that's really important for having good elasticity in our skin and keeping us young and youthful. But we'll talk a little bit about, we'll wrap up with bone broth. But before I forget, we were talking on the break about my little...
your suntan lotion thing.
Yeah, my suntan oil.
Yeah.
And I've been messing around with going back to the days of when we were young and everyone used baby oil and iodine.
Right.
Well, first of all, baby oil is a chemical mineral oil. It's not nutritive. So I have been making my own kind of combination of macadamia nut oil, which is not a PUFA, but a monosaturated oil with coconut oil. I've added a little bit of iodine, because iodine is actually an antioxidant for us, wonderful for skin health. And I've added a capsule of astaxanthin. So it turns it a beautiful kind of reddish brown color. And I apply that. But of course, I always, as I learned from Mr. Shortcut, I make sure that when you put oil on your skin and you are in the sun, you apply it to moist, warm skin, because oil actually locks in moisture. And versus when you put the oil on and you're not wet, you're kind of preventing the moisture of the water from getting in your skin. So I think you'll see a better result from that. But we want to just top on what it is bone broth. I say it's beauty in the bone broth.
Yeah, that's where we really get our real good nutrients, our real good fats, our real good collagen, all comes from the bone broths. And if you're not doing this on a daily basis, either adding it in through the beef collagen, the beef gelatin, or just making bone broth or buying bone broth, which is highly available just about everywhere.
Oh, everyone's getting, but you can enjoy beautiful acne-free, glowing skin, wrinkle-free skin by getting the benefits of the bone broth, because the bone broth really helps us heal our gut so we can properly digest and absorb those vital nutrients that are in the soil or not in the soil, but we want to get them and extract them out of the great organic foods we're choosing and have a better health situation. So, bone broth is for beauty and plus, all kinds of good stuff.
I think so. So stick around, folks. Don't stick around. I'll see you next show, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Have
Thanks
a nice day.
You're watching Tiger TV.